So hi, this is Nick Williams. I'm here in London and I'm with Art Geyser in LA. How are you doing, Art?
Good. How are you, Nick?
Yeah, pretty good. Well, just getting over a cold. I don't usually sound this sexy and deep, but I'm doing pretty good. So we've been friends for several years now, 3 or 4 years, and whenever you're in London, we have fascinating conversations. And one of our conversations has been around this whole area of vulnerability, and we thought it would be fun and very helpful, or hopefully very helpful, to run an evening around this, which we're doing on July the 15th in London. And perhaps it's kind of interesting for two men to be talking about vulnerability, because it's often not a subject that men lead the way with. But first thing I would say is that what we want to do in this video is just give people a taste of what we're going to talk about and who we are and what we care about and why we care about this subject. And I guess the first thing I would say is often I spent probably the first good part of my life equating vulnerability with weakness. What's your take on that?
Oh, definitely. I remember when I was a boy, my favorite comic book was Superman.
Yeah.
And because other than kryptonite, he was invulnerable. And I didn't like some of the other ones as much, like Batman, because he was plenty vulnerable. And there was something just so appealing about, being strong, being able to handle any situation, being, practically invulnerable. And I'm pleased to say that I'm a recovering vulnerability
an addict of vulnerability.
Or an anti-vulnerability person. And, I know in my own personal journey, just have discovered how amazing it is to be open to being vulnerable and not trying to hide it necessarily.
No. I don't know what it's been like for you, but it's been quite a journey, and I'm realizing it's even in the last few months that I feel like the language I would use is I've had a healthier relationship with my own vulnerability. I think I've had a bit of an antagonistic relationship with it, so I've allowed myself to be vulnerable, but I've almost still hated myself a little bit for being so vulnerable at times, and now I think I'm kind of feeling more accepting of it and more compassionate towards my own vulnerability.
That's wonderful. And the thing is, for people, there's a lot of reasons that people have problems with vulnerability, men and women. Certainly part of it is not wanting to appear weak or get taken advantage of. For a lot of women in business, there was a lot of pressure to not be woman-like, and being vulnerable was considered woman-like. And if being a great leader meant that you never showed weakness or confusion, and all these things that we now know are the opposite of the truth. But there's also a whole element of I think, how do the Buddhists put it, that every sentient being, moves towards happiness and away from pain. A lot of us are afraid of vulnerability, and just on the inside, it's like, well, if I really am present to all the unhappy feelings that can happen as you're a human being, along with the wonderful ones, will it ruin me? Will it destroy my life? Will I be depressed? And I know, again, for myself, it's been a very intense few years. I'm dealing with a lot of grief this year.
Sure.
And I'm really amazed at how I can be at this point in my life present to the painful part of life and present to the joyful part, and not feel a need or desire to suppress either one.
No, I think I've had a similar journey the last couple of years for slightly different reasons. I just wanted to talk about the reality that there is also a reality that in some environments, if you do show your vulnerability, you could well be exploited. So, I just want to make that point, that we're very aware that we're not saying you must be vulnerable in all situations. That's why we've called it kind of skillful and appropriate vulnerability. There are times when it's actually quite wise not to show your vulnerability. So, I want to get that idea across.
And there's also the parts sometimes, people do a 180 from trying to always hide their vulnerability to being completely open all the time. And, and it's finding, again, that balance. And there's the external part, what you show to others, and the internal part, developing a different kind of inner strength where you realize that you can handle your own vulnerability, which I think is probably the most, I don't know, they're both very important, but to me, personally, that handling that inner vulnerability has been so important, and then having choice about the outer vulnerability. And I know somebody leads workshops, and it's consultants, business leaders, it can be this incredible strength to be vulnerable and to show your vulnerability. And at other times, it's not what people want.
Yep. So it's learning how to be wise around it and skillful. Yeah.
If you're on the Titanic, you don't want the captain going, "We're doomed."
Yes, I don't know what to do. I was just going to share that, over the last couple of years, I think we both had kind of illnesses around the same time. And I think one of the things that my kind of being ill, I had hepatitis and ended up in hospital, which I've never been in hospital in my whole life until that point. And then was quite debilitated for several months. And in a way, I was thrown into a place of being very dependent. And I think a lot of my vulnerability was a fear of having to be dependent on other people. And I think so many of us can relate to, a kind of unhealthy independence, which is the mask for our vulnerability. It's like, well, we pretend we don't need help, but really we do. But what I'm aware of, having been on this journey for the last 2.5 years recovering from illness, is I find a great paradox that the more I've been willing to go to and embrace and throw my arms around my weakness and my vulnerability and my pain and all those kind of things, actually, the stronger I feel now. And I'm, as you know, I'm a student of A Course in Miracles, and there's a lovely lesson in The Course in Miracles that says, "In my defenselessness does my safety lie." And that's kind of 180 degrees to the conventional psychological thinking, which is, good defenses make you strong. Whereas what the Course in Miracles says is actually dismantling your defenses ultimately makes you invulnerable, because there's a part of you that is really strong, truly strong. Not strong from a place of defense, but strong from a place of, I suppose we would call it spirit, if you like, almost, that a part of us isn't genuinely invulnerable. So it's somehow living with that paradox of living with the vulnerability and our genuine strength and power and invulnerability. I don't know what your thought, but that's kind of been my experience the last couple of years.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's so many important things in what you said. But one is it is about uncovering that inner strength that's there. And so much also about being willing to get help, ask for help, receive help. There's so many people. I mean, I've met so many women who, particularly if they're like a single mother, but just women in general who feel like they have to be strong. It's a different kind of have to be strong than some of the male programming, but it's probably even worse, and that. Mom has to be strong, or as a woman,
the whole Superman, Superwoman kind of thing, and then we feel ashamed when we can't live up to the image that we're creating, and all those things. So
now, but on our evening, I have a wonderful story of a woman confronting Donald Trump about getting teary-eyed in business, and I'll just say as a teaser for everybody, she got a standing ovation from the audience, and he agreed with her.
Yes.
Agreed with her.
Great. So, what we're going to be doing during the evening is sharing some of our ideas. We're going to be, I like the idea of leading people into inquiries, because I know you and I have had several conversations over the last few months leading up to this, and I've just been amazed at how many new awarenesses I've had by just talking to you about it, because it's not a subject I talk to a lot of people about. I don't know about you. So part of the kind of opportunity of the evening will be the opportunity to hear some new ideas and have conversations and new perspectives about vulnerability and perhaps reframe it. But I know that, for me, also one of the highlights of the evening is you're going to lead us through a few energetic processes. So for people that don't quite understand how that works, would you just give people a kind of little idea of what your energetic processes are about?
Yes. So again, big picture for people, just as you said, the beginning is more of an inquiry and thinking, and not everybody doesn't have to adopt the same viewpoints on vulnerability, but for everybody to start noticing all the programming and beliefs and societal things and family things that are layered on top of it. And then in the energy work, so the theory that I'm operating out of, and luckily, happily, science now agrees with this, is that we are composed of energy. And people have known for thousands of years and talked about chakras and auras and the human energy field, that has a profound effect on people's lives. And people have not just unconscious programming, but actually energetic programming. And how that works, I'll explain in the evening. But it gets passed down generationally, parent, child, So we have been programmed by our ancestors, by our parents, by everybody around us, not just psychologically, but energetically. And during the evening, we'll do some really powerful, really simple processes that will allow people to start releasing a great deal of the programming they have about vulnerability and fears about vulnerability, and opening up to what you talked about, that inner strength that is in everyone. So in the energetic part, those would be the two main themes: clearing the programming that blocks us and opening up that connection to our inner strength.
Beautiful. And if you're watching this and you've not experienced art's energetic processes, let me just tell you, having experienced many of them over the last 4 years or so, they are beautiful, they are healing, they're clearing. The word I use is they're liberating. Every time, I experience you doing that work, I feel liberated in some way. Something drops away so that more of the real me emerges. So, I'm a great genuine fan of you and your work in that respect. So that's why I want to work with you and offer this to the London audience.
Well, thank you so much, Nick. And I just want to say, when we've done different evenings in the past, the feedback I get from people who didn't yet know you is they love how Nick sets out the bigger picture, how you really have an ability to really frame it in people's lives in a way that's very profound and very simple. And to me, very much like your books. They're simple, they're profound at the same time, and that then doing the energy work within that framework is very powerful. And Nick's gotten quite good at energy work himself now, so we'll both be doing it.
I've had a good teacher. So great, so I think we're probably going to need to wrap up now, but so the evening is July the 15th in London at the Park Crescent Conference Centre, and you can buy tickets, and for your ticket you'll get the evening, you'll get one of Art's CDs, you'll get one of my books as a gift as a thank you for coming, and you'll meet some friends and you'll come away with less programming and blocks than you had at the beginning of the evening.
And if I can just say, I hope anybody who's interested in the topic of vulnerability, I hope you can join us. I think it'll be a very, very special evening. Like I said, that the evenings I've done with Nick, people just tell me later they're really magical. So I know I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward
to it. Going further on my own journey on vulnerability.
So please come to the party that we're looking forward to having as well. It'll be a lovely evening. Thanks, Art. Lovely to talk to you.
Great to talk to you.
Thanks. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.